So today I thought I would do something different. I'm not sure if it's going to work properly for the people that are watching me in Telegram, because I need to use the app YouTube to play the audio from a talk. So I find it fascinating learning about what our society calls cults. I think because I've been in the spiritual scene for so long, I got into it incredibly young in age. Yeah, I got into the subject so young that there is a fascination with the cults because I've watched so many cults, or what I would determine as cults, or what a society determines as cults, form. And also, I think I've experienced in the past like cultic or religious or spiritual abuse, which I'm sure a lot of people have. And and so there's just been a fascination of it. So I thought today I would play a talk from Lori Vallow, and then talk about it. So just as a bit of a backstory, Lori Vallow was devout Christian, Mormon, and she got into very extreme beliefs with some other Mormon people, and they set up like an organization. There was like a group of them, and they began to get into these ideas of people being taken over by zombies, and then they killed the zombies because they thought that they were taken over by zombies and they were no longer the people that they knew, and that included 2 of her children. So she killed 2 of her children because she thought they'd been taken over by zombies. The courts have like diagnosed her with delusional personality, delusional disorder, narcissistic disorder, and a whole array of different things. But I thought her awakening story was really interesting and something that we could talk about. And because it could be that she's completely lying, but from what it sounds like, there was an awakening that happened, and then the awakening was interpreted in many ways, which kind of sent it a little bit psychotic. Not a little bit, massively psychotic, actually. Yeah. Okay, so we'll listen to her her testimony about her awakening and about the reasons why she did all the things that she did. Maybe some of you know about it. And then I'm going to discuss the awakening and what I think happened. Okay, so you can listen to her awakening experience. And this is from when she's been found guilty of killing her kids and conspiring to kill her partner's, her husband's ex-wife or widow, and some other charges as well. And this is her response to the court after she's been found guilty. They gave her an opportunity to speak.
I'd like to start by quoting John from the New Testament in the Bible. In John chapter 8, verse 7, Jesus says, "He that is without sin among you, let him first cast a stone at her." Then in verse 15, Jesus says, "Ye judge after the flesh, I judge no man. And yet if I judge, my judgment is true." Jesus knows me, and Jesus understands me. I mourn with all of you who mourn my children and Tammy. Jesus Christ knows the truth of what happened here. Jesus Christ knows that no one was murdered in this case. Accidental deaths happen. Suicides happen. Fatal side effects from medications happen. I have a different perspective in life because in 2002, when I was pregnant with Tylee, I died in the hospital. while in labor with her. They tried to stop my labor. They put me on the table and they put something in my IV, and I felt my spirit falling to the floor. I was standing near my pregnant body, watching the doctors try to revive me, which took them a few minutes. In that time, my sister Stacy was standing to my left. I turned to hug her and was surprised that her spirit was as tangible as a physical body, because I knew I was in spirit and she was in spirit. She said she needed to show me some things, and we went to heaven. I later returned to my body. Because of this experience, I had access to heaven and the spirit world. Since then, I have had many communications from people now living in heaven, including my children, Tylee Ashlyn and Joshua Jackson, my sisters, Stacy and Lolly, my aunts and my uncles, and my grandparents. I have had many communications with Jesus Christ, the Savior of this world, and our heavenly parents. I have had many angelic visitors have come and communicated with me and even manifested themselves to me. Because of these communications, I know for a fact that my children are happy and busy in the spirit world. Because of my communications with my friend Tammy Daybell, I know that she is also very happy and extremely busy. I have always mourned the loss of my loved ones, and I have lost many in this mortal world. However, I know more than most people. I know where they are now and what they're doing. I know how wonderful heaven is, and I'm homesick for it every single day. I know we all lived in heaven before we were born on earth, and we were all adult spirits in the heavenly realm. We chose to come to earth as mortals. Heaven is more wonderful than you can possibly imagine. I do not fear death, but I look forward to it. I did not want to return to my body when I was out of it. Even though my son Colby, who I adored more than anything, was only 6 years old at the time, and I was about to give birth to this new baby girl that I wanted so badly. I was a young mother, and you would think I wouldn't want to leave my children, but as I stood in heaven, I did not want to go back. I thought they would be fine without me, because I was peaceful and I was happy and I was home. But then I was told by Jesus that I needed to go back and complete things that I had covenanted or promised to do before I was born. This caused me a lot of distress, because I knew heaven was my real home, and I only wanted to be there. I was free from pain, emotional and physical. But then I was shown how I would help my children and others in the future, so ultimately I did agree to go back to my body. Tylee has visited me. She is happy and very busy. Tylee is free now from all the pains of her life. Tylee suffered horrible physical pain her whole life. I sat with Tylee in the hospital year after year after year while she screamed in pain when the morphine wasn't even enough to take away the pain of her pancreatitis. I sat there while she cried, and I held back her hair while she threw up. And I'm the only person on this earth who knows how much Tylee suffered in her life. She had pain every single day. She never felt good. Her body did not work right, and I don't know if that was from complications from me dying while she was being born or something else, but she had a very difficult life. She was sexually abused by her own biological father when she was 3 years old, and she was forced by family court to go visit him for 10 years against her will. I fought for her. In court, I protected her. I tried to protect her with my whole life. I tried to protect her. I worried about her. every single day. Tylee had to get her GED because she couldn't go to school every day because she never felt good. She felt sick. Nobody knows this because Tylee, like myself, tries to put on a good front, tries to be a happy person, tries to have hope in life, tries to know that she's here for a purpose and that she has an eternal purpose to be on this earth. But I never stopped worrying about her. One of the times that Tylee came to me as a spirit after she died, she commanded me, and she said to me, "Stop worrying, Mom. We are fine." She knows how I worry and how I miss her. The first time JJ visited me after he passed away, he put his arm around me and he said to me, "You didn't do anything wrong, Mom. I love you, and I know you loved me every minute of my life." JJ, Joshua Jackson, was an adult spirit, and he was very, very tall when he put his arm around me. He is busy, he is engaged, he has jobs that he does there, and he is happy where he is. His life was short, but JJ's life was meaningful. JJ was a wonderful person and touched the lives of everyone, and I adored him every minute of his life. My eternal friend Tammy Daybell has visited me on several occasions. She came to bring me peace and comfort, and I know that she is extremely busy helping her family, especially her children and grandchildren, and I have a great love for Tammy. My beautiful children, Tylee Ashlyn and Joshua Jackson, rest safely this day in the arms of Jesus. My wonderful friend Tammy Daybell rests safely this day in the arms of Jesus. And I look forward to the day when we are all reunited and I too will rest with them in the arms of my Jesus.
Okay, so that is all. I'm sure that that's a little confusing for some people that are not used or familiar to the case. So basically, they killed, like she was talking about her friend Tammy that she saw, the kids that she saw, and they killed them because they thought they were infiltrated by zombies, by dark energy. And this is her speaking basically about the situation and how she believes that she helped them. She doesn't say that directly, but it's kind of like the feel to it. It's also most probably really delusional, and it's also most probably very narcissistic and inability to take any responsibility. But what fascinates me about it is the spiritual awakening, and then how that can get immersed in all types of grandiose stories and all types of different stories. So it seems her spiritual awakening, if she's not lying, she might be lying, but it seems like her spiritual awakening was when she died, when she gave birth to her child. And her interpretation of that, coming from Christianity, was that she died and she went to heaven. And she met people that she had known before, and met them and spoke with them and conversed with them, and she describes it as heaven, like it's heavenly, as a really beautiful experience, like it's more beautiful than this world, and that she didn't want to come back. So this is my interpretation on what I think is happening in that moment. I feel that she's having a non-dual awakening. So when the body is dying, when the body is falling asleep, or even if you knock your head and pass out or something, or if there's some type of issue, there can be a spiritual awakening that happens where you lose your sense of self. So you lose the character in which you believe you've always been, the illusory person, the story of you. And when you lose the story of you, there is this expanding back into consciousness of what you are. So there's an expanding back, or you could say the no-thingness of what you are. And there's an expanding back into that, and this love and this contentment which takes over. It's total love and contentment. And that can happen, I believe, from a near-death experience, because I don't know for sure. I've not scientifically dissected a body and examined what's happening, but there is this release that's happening, like the brain, or there is a release, or your memory can't remember who you are, and there is a release from this narrative of me, 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 me. So in something like near-death experiences, you often hear things like going towards light, or being in bliss, or being on ecstasy, or being in the most peaceful place there is on earth. And to me, I feel what's happening is there is a release of the sense of self and a non-dual awakening. Now, of course, you must be thinking, of course I'd say that because that's my alliances. I have like an alliance to non-duality. But we'll go further into this as we speak more about this subject. So then what begins to happen is imaginations begin to come up, or what I feel imagining is. So to her, this is reality. She went to another world. She went to the afterlife. That is what is true for her. But for me, I feel like wisps of imaginings begin to come up. So your brain is trying to interpret what's happening, and it creates things that it's been told or it believes in this life. So it's like you're fading out of being you, but then like a dream at night, this other dream takes over and tells you stories in which your heart desires. So if there is like a strong belief in the afterlife, then there'll be a meeting of people that have died, people that have crossed over, or all different types of things. I could be wrong. It could actually be something that happens, but I feel like it's imaginings of the brain. We could then question what the brain is. Like we can then go on for infinity, because it could be like the one brain. And there's nothing wrong with these imaginings. And in a way, these imaginings are not any more real or less real than this reality, because this reality is all created by the brain. But there's still wisps of these imaginings, and so a dream kind of takes place. And because it's so heavenly and orgasmic, these experiences of oneness, it tends to be something really positive that happens. So often people come back from these experiences having profound shifts in perspective. I don't mean to dismiss any of these experiences, and if that is somebody's reality, then I'm so happy to validate that reality, because in the end I don't know. But this is just my perspective on it. And then after that experience, so when she comes back to her body, and when she goes home, she died in childbirth, and when she goes home with her child, this awakening that she's had will actually have really profoundly changed the system. You can't unforget awakening, and I'm sure there's many people out there that have had awakenings. They are so profound, and it's really different from the way in which regular people live their life. It's like unity, it's like oneness, it's what everybody's been seeking for. It's as if all questioning, all sense of insecurity, all sense of not knowing has been resolved. Even though it's not resolved in a thought, it's resolved in your heart. You're absolutely at home and contented, and there's no questions around anything. It's not like you know everything, but there's just no questions around anything. It's total and utter intimacy with what is. And that profoundly changes the body. I do feel like it can have immense healing impact on the body, because it's delodging the narrative of you. And the narrative of you have kept in a lot of psychological play. And it most probably stimulates neuroplasticity. So there is like intense healing that can happen from that. But then how do you interpret that experience? So that's the important part. So, and this is where I feel like religions and cults and not all the time, but a lot of the time spring from the interpretation of that experience. There's also narcissism and control and money and all these other things that happen in cults. But there is this, often the cult leader has actually had some form of spiritual awakening. You often hear near-death experiences, or like Ramana Maharshi. I don't believe he set up a cult, but maybe he did in the end. I wasn't there, I don't know. He had a big following. Was like a near-death experience. So there's this like many of them. Like if you took like what's another big, like Adidar. I'm not saying he's a cult leader, although I have heard some very negative things about that community. Like if we took Adidar, like he had profound awakenings in the beginning of it. So there is these awakenings that happen, but then how are they interpreted into the system? And that, I think, depends on the knowledge of the body-mind system beforehand, and also the personality susceptibilities that were there beforehand. So if you've got more tendency towards narcissism or towards grandiosity, then you might go into creating a cult, because you might then interpret this experience as like you are Jesus or you are God, or you're better than other people. And these are really subtle things. Like it might not come across like they're saying that, but in the end, a lot of these cults are like that. It's like you've got this one charismatic leader and then lots of people doing the manual labor around them and fulfilling their needs. But the cult leader will always say, I'm doing all of this for you. I'm giving every part of myself for you. You know, I'm cleaning your karma. I'm cleaning your energy. You're blessed to be around me. And even if they don't directly say that, in allowing an organization to be around them that's saying that is kind of like, is them. They're just not articulating it, which might be like a more smart thing, but they're getting other people to articulate it for them. So they're alive and they might not be saying how brilliant they are, but everybody around them is advertising their brilliance and their magic and the wonder they do and the miracles they perform and how much they help people. And the cult leader knows that's happening. He's not naive to it, or she's not naive to it. Like something that I experience in talks sometimes or retreats is people looking at me with so much adoration. You know, and how I deal with that. You know, in the beginning, I always made sure that I had exactly the same chair as everybody else and I was on the same level and all these types of things. And I tried to bring myself down so people wouldn't put me up. And I would feel shy and embarrassed and uncomfortable with people's adoration of me and attempts to put me up on a pedestal. It gave me the heebie-jeebies. I felt like it wasn't right. I'm not saying that people can't admire something you do, but like, why would you encourage that? Like, if you're balanced, like, why would you want to encourage admiration? If you're balanced, you just want intimacy, like, and recognition and harmony with people, and you don't want to be somebody that's higher than other people. Like, that doesn't feel in line. If there's insecurity there, then maybe you do want to be higher than other people because you feel insecure. I have to say now, latterly, as I descend into older age, which is still not a great age, I do pick comfortable chairs. I sometimes take my own chair to have comfortable time when I'm giving talks. And sometimes if people can't see, then I will sit on the stage, because I mean, there's practicalities to it as well. But I'm not saying I'm perfect. Like, I can completely understand how I've played into delusions of people and all different types of things. But this is the really interesting thing. So for you, for everybody that's listening, like, what has been your narrative of your awakenings, if you've had awakening, or what is your narrative about wanting awakening or other people's awakening? Because in the end, what non-duality says is it's all illusory. And this is what I love about non-duality, is it doesn't give these whole fantasies of Jesus Christ and the afterlife and the Father and the God and performing all these things. It's like what we come back to is everything is an illusion, including my own awakening. The only freedom that is and the reality that is what is. So what is the illusions that you or anybody, and including me, you're welcome to point out to me delusions I get caught into, which people do, you know, I'll be talking about my awakening and then somebody will say, but that's confusing to me because that's also illusory. And I'm like, yeah, that is illusory. Like, so there's an apparent story, but in the end it's illusory and it doesn't mean anything. Like the story of my awakening or your awakening or Ramana Maharshi's awakening doesn't mean anything. It's used for teaching purposes, and I'm happy to use it for that. But in the end, it's not here. It's only here in imaginings. What is here is this radical freedom. So what I feel like happened to Lori is there was an awakening, most probably, unless she's even lying about that, which she could be. She is like obviously got narcissistic personality, and then also paranoia or delusion as well. So this could be a lie, but it could also be genuine. I could understand that at the beginning of all this there was a genuine awakening that happened, and then a seeping more and more into illusion. And because already she had personality disorders, she already had maybe paranoia or the not psychosis, delusional personality, mental health issues, maybe mania, and then narcissism, and maybe even borderline or other personality issues. Then what happened is, and because she also came from Mormonism, the became all these really extreme beliefs, and it grew over. She didn't act it out until 2018, which is, you know, almost 20 years after that awakening in 2002. So it grew bit by bit. She most probably was attracted to anything that spoke about that awakening. And then there was most probably a chasing after it and wanting to get closer, and the ideas getting more and more radical, and then the personality being unbalanced. Then the narcissism attracting other people towards her, is her and her partner, which are apparently the leaders of the cult. You know, all these different things feeding into it. And then like Jesus Christ's story, believing in Jesus Christ, the whole world believing, well, not the whole world, but her whole world living in Utah, believing in Jesus Christ, and Mormonism, and like most people believing in religion and spirituality, her belief in being able to speak to the other world, her feeling of heaven, that it's a greater place than this. So then that begins to excuse, you know, like, it doesn't excuse killing people, but it, like, I can see how the brain goes there. It's a really extreme case, and I'm not saying this happens to everyone that has awakening or anything. I'm just talking about the extremity of it. I can see how that happens in people. And also, when you have awakening, it does undo the mind in a way and makes you incredibly open-minded. And the problem with open-minded people is that other people are always trying to fill that open-mindedness up with other ideas. So there's maybe all these things going on, like these personality issues, and then the awakening, and then the desperately seeking back for that, and then getting more and more deluded into all these like very abstract ideas. And to me, awakening is very simple. It's the realization in who you truly are, which is beingness, here, thisness, isness. And it's not intellectual. There's no capabilities in it to go into delusion, because it's beyond delusion. Delusion can only have a play in the dualistic language, in the dualistic thinking. Delusion cannot happen in beingness, in the intimacy of right here-ness. Yeah. You have it across the board with all types of different teachers and awakening, like are going into delusions about it and stories. I don't mean to sound dismissive. About their stories, because in a way, part of this life is having stories. Like, we are humans with the ability to think in a complex manner. But yeah, that's my perspective on it. Is everything we think is ultimately a delusion, and so then to believe in that and believe it's true, and then to teach other people that it's true is delusionary. If you could say, open-mindedly, like, this is how I feel, or this is what I think is happening, but knowing that that isn't the ultimate fixed reality, then that's different. So it's fascinating when you investigate these different organizations and the teacher and how that came about. I'm not saying that every teacher that has an organization is creating a cult or in delusion, but it's fascinating looking at it. And then using that as a teaching tool. And what ideas do you have about a you that's awakening in the future? Can you see that that isn't a truth? That there isn't a you there that's awakening in the future? There is a story of a you there awakening in the future. But there is this presence that has no story, and that's who you truly are. And that's the awakening. Even teaching of no self or teaching of consciousness, in a way, is going too far. It's too many ideas, in a way. Like, in a way, the best way of teaching is absolute silence, because any words, create delusion. Like the idea of no self can become a cult. I've seen it in groups, like after 12 years of teaching now, and before that 12 years of spiritual seeking, I'm very aware of these organizations that pop up, and I see organizations pop up around no self and people believing in it and it looking more and more cult-like. Like, even that isn't a belief, that there is a self or isn't a self there. Like, that is a belief. That is an idea. So if you hold that to yourself, or if you hold consciousness to yourself, these are all ideas. So what is it that's beyond idea? What is it that has no idea? In this experience, it's experiencing but has no idea. That's not telling you you need to be something, or you should be something, or you need to do something to get to me, or there is a path to me. That's not got any narrative to it. What happens to just have no idea now? Not on the personal level. Thoughts have ideas, but beyond that, to drop to a place that has no idea. What happens? so easily this becomes a belief system and all types of problems arise. It's really not a belief system. It's really experiential. It's presence. It's coming back to what you've always been. You know, your mind is telling you, I am somebody that's arrived in this room. I am somebody that's leaving this room. I am somebody that's going to walk my dog or go to bed or listen to this talk or do something. It's all different types of things it's telling you that you have been or that you're going to be. But yet none of that's happening now. None of that is happening here. So what is happening here? And where is this person that you keep insisting that you are here? Who is it that's actually experiencing? The mind informs you that it's the character that is going to go and walk the dog later that is listening. But what is that? This character that's going to go and walk the dog. How is that person listening now? In your experience, in your direct experience, how is that person listening to me speak? There is listening happening by nobody. There is nothing listening. When there's like real deep meditation and contemplation into the nature of experience, it's seen that a person is an experience appearing in this. It's not an actual experiencer. And the illusion that you are this person is what creates suffering. So for Lori, when she had that awakening, I mean, maybe she wouldn't have listened to non-duality because there was that grandiose narcissistic mind she had to go into, grand stories. But if there had been a speaking about this, then maybe all these dramatic cult stories wouldn't have had to arise. I mean, maybe could have, would have. It can't be any other way than what it is. But I mean, I'm just trying to express that, like, if she had really seen what the awakening was, there could have been a dropping a lot of stories, unnecessary stories. The attachment to the idea of being someone, to me, and in a lot of the non-duality teachings, is what is causing the problem. So there is an appearance of a character that comes and goes, that thinks, that chooses, that does all these things. That we need a character in order to function in this society. But that's not an experiencer. That is an experience. So who is the experiencer? And this is where God is.